Universal Orlando put on an absolutely killer opening weekend of Halloween Horror Nights 2023.
We ran every single house multiple times and did behind-the-scenes tours of 9 of the 10 houses.
So you guessed it, we're ranking the houses from worst to best.
Number 10, Chucky Ultimate Kill Count. Presented by Napa Auto Parts. Not really, it's just really weird that they didn't remove the sign from the Fast and the Furious line before they opened the house. Chucky, the serial killer doll, is back for a new gore fest. He's hijacked his own haunted house with all kinds of bloody hijinks. You and your friends must survive his ultimate kill count. A main reason this is ranking in at number 10 is because we had the expectations for this house very high. After all, this was the very first house announced for this year, way back, I believe, Halloween of last year. This house is divided into 2 parts. Last year, this location was where the Blumhouse double feature of Freaky and Black Phone was, so that split made a lot of sense. This year, the split is between iconic Chucky kills from the films in the first half and iconic kills from the TV show in the second half. And I'm sad to say, but unfortunately the second half was the part that killed the house for us, pun fully intended. I have seen a few episodes of the new TV show and it's really good. Amazing production value for a show on cable TV. They actually filmed original footage from the puppeteers and voice actors from the show for the house. Therein lies the problem. Every room in the second half of this house is introduced by a monitor with Chucky talking to you via a television. It really got me wondering how much of the budget was poured into these satellite TV subscriptions for all of the monitors that are playing pretty much the TV show in every single room of this house. We did grow to appreciate this house more on the Behind the Screams tour, which was honestly one of the best parts of opening weekend. We did get a great photo of the dad from the Disney movie Onward, who was an Easter egg in this house as a part of the 6-house tour. This is also where we learned that not every one of the Chuckies in this house was the same. They had stagnant, partial motion, and full motion / talking puppets in this house. As of 2023, these tours only allow pictures and no video, but we got plenty of amazing shots of this house and every other house except for Exorcist, which was unfortunately not part of this tour because it's based on a movie that has not come out yet, and we'll explain more of that when we get to Exorcist in this list.
Number 9, The Last of Us. You and your squad will encounter the haunting and overgrown world of the video game in a brand new, terrifying way. Stay silent if you want to survive a multitude of clickers, hunters, and more. I know, a lot of viewers are mad because we didn't rank this one higher on the list. Let me explain. What we learned from the tour is that the set and characters are exact replicas to what is seen in the game, not the show. We haven't watched the show or played the game that this house is based off of. And I'm sorry, but we feel that shouldn't be necessary to enjoy a haunted house. Lighting was very one-dimensional, very blue to be exact, possibly to match the feel of the game itself, but that meant that during a walkthrough, the smaller details were almost impossible to see to the naked eye. There were multiple full-sized vehicles in the house, which is always cool. We did learn on the tour that this house takes place solely in Pittsburgh, which is about 4 hours into the game, so that's a commitment. But yeah, this felt like a very last-minute addition because they leaned so heavily on the source material.
Number 8, The Darkest Deal. Blues musician Pine Straw Spruce, yes, that is a musician and not an air freshener, will have to face the music after meeting the Collector and trading his soul for musical glory. You and your squad learn the terrible price for fame. Apparently the lyrics for the world-famous song The Devil Went Down to Georgia has yet to hit public domain because this house is that exact story, to a T, but don't ask Universal, they won't admit that. It's a very interesting concept, but honestly, we weren't really digging the vibe of this house in general. The first scene was super cool. Actually, I really liked the contract light up thing. This guy must be an executive at Victory Records with a record deal like that. If you know, you know. Can you I'm recording. Can you not laugh before I get to the point? But yeah, there were some really solid devil / Satan costumes in this house and interesting sets, but I felt like I was just going in and out of different music clubs. And I spent way too much time doing that in my life to enjoy a house like this, unfortunately. I promise this list is going up from here. On to number 7.
Number 7, The Exorcist Believer. 2 missing girls have been found with no memory of what happened to them. But wherever they went, the ultimate evil has returned with them. Enter the most terrifying scenes from the new Blumhouse film. Halloween Horror Nights have done plenty of houses based on The Exorcist before, so when rumors started circling that there would be another one done this year, expectations were not too high. But luckily, this house is actually based on the new movie coming out in October, so that actually helped a lot. It does face another issue, however, of not knowing the source material when going in as a guest. But oddly enough, that is likely the case of Universal creatives behind this house as well. Something we learned last year while touring the Blumhouse double feature is that the Black Phone was set to release in July of last year, meaning that all that was available for source material was what was shown in the trailer. But once again, they pulled it out of the bag and absolutely killed it for the layout and design of this house. One of our highlights being this amazing scene where an exorcism is being done. One of the girls floating above the chairs that are back to back, and the other is sitting writhing in pain. It's not typical for there to be scares like this at Halloween Horror Nights. When there's an actor so exposed in a walkway and at a lower level than guests, we've heard horror stories of these actors getting kicked and slapped a lot more often simply because of the positioning. Obviously, we hope that doesn't happen, and this is a good time to insert a reminder to keep your hands to yourselves. Thank you. Great house overall. Can't wait to see the movie in October.
Number 6, Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins. You won't be able to resist going inside Dr. Oddfellow's menacing menagerie of twisted oddities. That's a mouthful. But the price for you and your friends is steep. The cost of your souls to feed his immortal power. If you can't tell, the first sentence that we're doing on these, first little mini paragraph is from Universal. These are literally the press release things that they put just to give a little general background on why we're starting with these really narrative things on these lists. I will try to avoid the hour-long conversation that always happens when I start talking about Halloween Horror Nights icons, but for those who don't know, an icon at Halloween Horror Nights is a character that's in the forefront of the event, so much so that multiple houses and scare zones are themed after them. A lot of these icons return from time to time, but by far the most original character and iconic icon from the event is Jack the Clown. Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origin is kind of a Jack origin story as well. Although you never see him physically in the house itself, there are many hints alluding towards how he came to be. Warning, if you hate clowns, do not go in this house. Some super unique scares, animatronic stand-ins, a knife-throwing scene. I'm a little shocked they didn't spring for a sponsor from the Ringling Brothers. Dr. Oddfellow is this year's icon, and this house is a perfect way to kick off the new character's story in the best way.
Number 5, Bloodmoon Dark Offerings. In a colonial-era village, moon worshippers witness a blood moon at their fall festival. They take it as a sign to hunt down any non-followers, including you and your Scream Squad. If you were a fan of Dead Man's Pier last year, this is the house for you. Dylan Colath, the set designer for Dead Man's, also designed this house. The layout is not only breathtaking, but creates focal points that draw guests' eyes upwards and away from scares, allowing them to feel like the space is a real-world location. We thoroughly enjoyed touring this house as a part of the Behind the Screams tour, mainly because we could see all those details we missed on the initial walkthrough. The only thing stopping this house from being number 1 is the lighting. Obviously, a blood moon would cake the entire landscape in a red light, but we feel there should be more going on lighting-wise. The set itself is extremely gray and lacking contrast, which would be fine if the lighting was able to display that. There were so many large set pieces on display, which was crazy considering that Stranger Things was right next door, and we were told on our tour that it overtook some of the space that Blood Moon was originally allotted. Overall, it has really great theming and a super skillful layout, but the lighting is just a huge negative for us.
Number 4, Dueling Dragons, Choose Thy Fate. 2 warlocks of great power were turned into dragons after trying to take Merlin's spellbook. Now you and your friends are caught in their epic battle. You must choose the path and a victor. First, I'd like to make it clear that I am the reason this house is at number 4. Originally, Isabel had this slated at, I think, number 8, but that was because she didn't understand the lore. This house is definitely built for the OG Islands of Adventure fans. This is based off of the land of Merlinwood that opened with the park and is where Hogsmeade sits today. It was home to a ride called Dueling Dragons and a restaurant called Enchanted Oak Tavern, which oddly enough can be found in the entrance facade of this exact house. This house has not 1, not 2, but 3 huge set moments, and as the title alludes, a choose your own ending feature to it. During the first half of the house, it's clear that the fire and ice minions are really trying to get you to choose their side, and by the end of it, you really have to choose your own fate. There are so many different possibilities for endings to this house, but I guess the end goal is to get Merlin at the end, which we have yet to get yet. I don't know, I'd much rather see one of the warlocks with a severed head of Merlin. That's so much cooler and is actually one of the endings we have seen. Honestly, in my opinion, I think this is such an amazing house, and I guess you might think the same as long as you've been to Islands of Adventure between 1998 and 2008, which is what this whole thing is based off of.
Number 3, YETI, Campground Kills. You and your friends are about to venture into a 1950s campground overrun by huge, menacing Yetis who rip apart anyone who gets in their way. you must flee to the Ranger Tower to escape. This house is camp, and not just because of where it takes place, but in the tone as well. Although it takes up a smaller space than its soundstage mate Dueling Dragons, they're still able to fit some amazing scenes into this house. And they get extremely creative with these YETI kills. We just absolutely love the feel of this house, including the popcorn and s'more smells that they pump in. On top of that, there are some pretty amazing details heading into this house you can only find on the Behind the Screams tour. Feel free to pause the video to check out this corkboard. We're happy to see it break the top 3 and take the spot for our favorite out of the original IPs this year.
Number 2, Stranger Things 4. You'll need your squad to Why do I keep saying my friends? I'm gonna go alone one night, and I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die, okay? Can you believe this? You'll need your squad to resist Vecna's gruesome curse. Like 11, now's your chance to stop him once and for all as you take on the scariest season of Stranger Things yet. Oh my goodness, this Stranger Things Season 4 house is absolutely amazing. Even if you weren't able to catch the season that aired last summer, you will definitely recognize some of the scenes and quotes from this house because they are for sure capitalizing on some of the viral moments that happened all over social media. From the iconic Chrissy wake up scene to the inside of Vecna's mind, which by the way is one of the most impressive spaces in Horror Nights this year, if not our favorite scene in the whole event. Shockingly, this is one of the rooms in the Behind the Screams tour that was allowed for photos. I say this because not every single room on these tours is allowed to have photos taken. Mainly when it comes to the IP houses, photographs are limited by the studios themselves to prevent things from being seen that they might not want to be seen. And this house includes my favorite scare of Halloween Horror Nights 32. While you walk outside the Rainbow Room, 11 is using her powers that that's really all I could explain. You'll have to see it for yourself. I mean, I'm not spoiling it because you saw the clip I just played, but yeah. This scare actor casting for this house was absolutely amazing, and almost all of the characters looked as close as they can to the actors from the show. The one thing I do wish that was part of this house was a specific Metallica song, and they still have the scene, but it's like after he's done playing. I'm sure the rights were absolutely ridiculous for that. Metallica is kind of known for doing that. Anyway, on to number 1.
And last but not least, number 1, Universal Monsters Unmasked. Descend into the Paris catacombs where you and your squad will face a new horde of monsters. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Phantom of the Opera, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and the Invisible Man. If you followed us for a while, this may come as a complete shock to you because the Universal Monsters house last year ranked pretty low on our list. Actually, it seems like a lot of people prefer last year's over this year's from what we've seen so far. But I don't think we've had more fun in any other houses this year than we did in this one. We've already ran this one 5 times in the first 3 nights. One thing for us that makes a house an all-time great is making sure that it has dynamics. Dynamics meaning a variety of types of scares and theming and really tells a story rather than just jump scares for no reason for 3 minutes straight. Each of these 4 monsters has their own section of the house, starting with Phantom of the Opera. The Invisible Man is also a major feature of this house, which was very cool to see them incorporate blacklight to make this effect work. All of which culminates with probably my favorite scene of the entire event this year, which is the Hunchback on a bungee cord type thing directly above the pathway. It's kind of hard to explain, so just let me show you. This is considered an active role, and these characters switch out every 20 minutes instead of 45 compared to regular characters. The unfortunate part of this is that you are more likely to see this character be switched out during your walkthrough, and it's a higher chance of you missing it, which we did one of the times. The first time we walked through this house, I was so overwhelmed and overcome with emotion when we walked into this room and saw this happen that I actually stopped dead in my tracks and just screamed and professed my love for the Hunchback because it was so cool and such a great. It's so good. It's so good. I just love it so much, and it's so good. That's all I can say. It's so good.
Thank you so much for watching our ranking video for Halloween Horror Nights 2023. I want to say thank you to Nate, Paging Mr. Morrow, for allowing us to use his footage from in the houses that he got during the media event. You're the best, dude, seriously. Do you strongly agree or disagree with us? Please let us know in the comments below. If you do have any questions on specific details of the house, we did go on 9 tours, well, 2 tours of 9 of the houses, so we do have a lot of information we did not share in this video specifically, but we do have a lot of answers. We just don't know exactly what you guys want to know, so maybe we'll know the answer to it. Thank you again for watching. We will be doing a vlog at some point in the future from Halloween Horror Nights, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you haven't. Thanks for being here. Bye.